least the franchise records are falling. There is that. There is that. What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football. Houston Texans football. Houston Texans fall to the Cincinnati Bengals, 37-31. And to be honest, we didn't reach the point of the season where now the losses, the emotional attachment is no longer there. Which is sad, by the way, but that we've reached that point that it's when the team lose now, we like, yeah, you want your team to win. You sit out there rooting every Sunday, wanting the team to come away with a victory. But at the end of the day, when this shows up and they play the way they play, you like, especially what we've seen the past couple weeks against the Colts, like the two gut punches at the goal line, fumbling the football when you feel so sick and so disgusted and feel so empty after the game. Now you kind of just numb to the fact because you had a similar situation today, just not as, I guess, dramatic, but a similar situation how today's game ended. But still, at the end of the day, you still reach that point that, like, yeah, you want them to win. But we're talking about a 4-11 football team right now that's about to give the Miami Dolphins the third pick in the draft. We're gonna talk about that. It's just that's just a point that you reach that you just feel that type of way. You just feel quote unquote empty inside, and now you just waiting for the season to end. But we're gonna talk about let's break it down. Like I said, the Houston Texans fall to the Cincinnati Bengals, 37-31. Deshaun Watson was 24 completions off of 24 completions off of 33 attempts for a completion percentage of 72.7, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked once, and it came in a crucial time with a quarterback rating of 133.9. David Johnson showed up today. Like, David Johnson actually showed up today. This is easily David Johnson's best game as a Houston Texan. Had 12 carries for 128 yards, averaging 10.7 yards a carry with 1 touchdown. He had a long run of 48. He also caught the ball 3 times for 11 yards for a touchdown. Brandon Cooks was targeted 10 times at 7 catches for 154 yards and 1 touchdown. Kiki QT was targeted 5 times at 5 catches for 45 yards. Akins was targeted 4 times for 4 catches for 39 yards. Farrell Brown had 1 catch for 29 yards. Darren Fells had 1 catch for 22 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, David Johnson had a touchdown. Henson was targeted 3 times, only had 1 catch. Collie Warren was targeted 3 times, only had 1 catch. And Stephen Mitchell was targeted twice and only had 1 catch. The Cincinnati Bengals now. This is the thing. This thing. They started a guy named Brandon Allen, come out here had 29 attempts. Had 29 completions off of 37 attempts for a completion percentage of 78.4, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Had a quarterback rating of 126.5. P-Line was out here running the ball, had 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins out there catching everything, was targeted 9 times for 6 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. Eckerson it was targeted 6 times at 6 catches for 88 yards. AJ Green was targeted 7 times for 4 catches for 64 yards. And just one thing about Cincinnati is going to be a problem going forward. Once Joe Burrow comes back, Cincinnati, because these guys actually have some receivers. Will be making spectacular catches. And I know a lot of people will talk about David Johnson, how good David Johnson looked in the last 2 games. He had 100 yards. Had 100 yards receiving last week. First time he had 100 yards in any game period this year, off any type of stat line. And then today had his first rushing 100-yard game as a Houston Texan. And you sit back, even though he's had 2 good games, easily his 2 best games, and this one's easily his best game because as him being a running back, he had over 100 yards rushing, had a touchdown rushing, and a touchdown receiving. Sad to say that this game actually makes the Hopkins trade look even worse. The reason why is because you see what the Cincinnati Bengals are out there doing with T. Higgins, and he doesn't have his quarterback. Once T. Higgins gets his quarterback and Joe Burrow come back, I'm pretty sure that the Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to be the offense looked well before Joe Burrow got hurt. I would say even though the way Justin Herbert's been looking, I thought that Joe Burrow still was leading the clubhouse to win Rookie of the Year because Joe Burrow was playing just that well. They just weren't getting no wins because of the division that they're in. Cleveland's going to the playoffs, obviously. So is the Pittsburgh, and there's probably a chance that that the Ravens can get into. They're gonna have 3 teams out of the division make it to the playoffs. So they have weapons. They have receivers. They didn't have their quarterback, and still we came out there and allowed this no-name guy to throw damn near 400 yards against us. Like, I understand that our secondary is not who's supposed to be out there. We don't. Gary Allen hasn't played none this year. Roby's been suspended. I know that Justin Reed wasn't playing, and as I'm not mistaken, I think Eric Murray didn't play today as well. But still, this is just bad. Like, week after week after week, we come out there, and it's actually a franchise staple. If a franchise has a bad, not a bad record, but just has a bad streak going, they're gonna break against us. Well, I think it was like 20 straight games that they've lost on the road, broken. Can't win back-to-back games, broken. An unknown quarterback come out there and have a career game. Happens. It's just a staple of the Texans. It's not just this franchise. It's not just this season, and not this regime. This has been the problem that damn near since the Texans' inception. Like, since we've been here since 2002, it's just the mainstay. That if a team want to break a streak, you're gonna break a streak against the Texans. That's what's gonna happen. The streak is gonna get broken against the Texans, and it gets to the point, like I said, it's no longer even frustrating because it's more of a thing like, what more do you expect? Like, it's more so that it's more so something that it's more so something that you expect. You kind of expect this type of thing to go on. It's nothing that you should even be shocked or surprised about. This kind of thing just happens. This is just what happens. It's what's been happening for this franchise, basically, like I said, since 2002. But let's talk about the franchise in general, because, like I say, Deshaun Watson come out there, throw for over 300 yards, had 3 touchdowns, breaks the franchise record. The franchise record was at 29. He has it now at 30. He's now broken matchup record that he had in 2009. Now he's only 290 yards away from breaking the franchise yardage record they also matched up through in 2009 of 4,770. Deshaun Watson now has a career high in yardage, a career high in touchdowns, franchise record in touchdowns, and potentially can have a franchise record in yards as well. And we are doing this guy a complete disservice because he plays too well on too many occasions for this team to only have 4 wins. Like I said, we are about to give the Miami Dolphins the 3rd pick in the draft. Miami more likely going to go to the playoffs and still have the 3rd pick overall. Like, this is like, which, to be honest, if they smart, especially if the Jets want to pass on draft on Justin Fields or something like that, because the Jets end up winning today, the Miami could take that 3rd pick and flip it. If somebody wants to jump up to get a quarterback, they can take that 3rd pick and flip it and get even more picks. Like, we've put the Miami Dolphins in a perfect situation, and you can't blame nobody but William O'Brien. Like, William O'Brien, and like I said, and then Tunsil got knocked out the game today. It's just bad. And Deshaun still played well, even though he has a lot of close calls, and even though he's 290 yards away from the record. I'm to the point. Yeah, you can go ahead and sit him, because if you have him come out there with a bad offensive line already, top offensive line is really not that good, and now you're talking about you taking away Pro Bowl left tackles because they're not able to play, or guys having concussions and things like that. Now you don't have your two bookend tackles. Why would you subject him to that, to a game that more than likely is going to mean a lot to the Titans, because I think more than likely might mean something to the Titans. This might mean some Titans. If the Titans lose to Green Bay tonight, that game against Tennessee next Sunday is going to mean something. The Tennessee Titans will need to win that game to get into the playoffs. So, or at the very least, win the division. So this could mean a lot. And you don't want to subject Deshaun Watson to that, even though it was a beautiful game, even though we lost a couple months ago against the Titans back in October. But still, you don't want, we don't have full and stuff like that. You don't want to subject Deshaun to that. I mean, you had good moments. I mean, you had the bomb downfield to Brandon Cooks. You also had the both Farrell Brown and the Darren Fells touchdowns. Darren Fells touchdown and the Farrell Brown catch, when they just dragging and carrying defenders, multiple defenders into the end zone or across the 50 and things like that. Like the way that they were playing, they actually played well. They looked like big tight ends. They looked like big, massive tight ends, even though they both was on one catch. They looked like they were strong and looked like they were able to manhandle a defense. What was that all yet? Same thing with this whole David Johnson. Where was it all year? Like where was this David Johnson week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5? Maybe we wouldn't have just 4 wins. Maybe we'd be in the thick of the playoff hunt if David Johnson was a better running back. But I said this going into the season that I didn't feel David Johnson was a legitimate running back. I just didn't feel that he was a legitimate running back, that you could do anything with him. And of course, we all was mad when the trade happened because it was a stupid trade for one. And just they don't equivalent to each other. There's no way that you can make David Johnson as valuable, let alone more valuable than Hopkins. You know, this you really can't. Like there's really no point to it. And I hate to continue to be a dead horse. And the only reason why I'm bringing up the whole Hopkins trade is because this was clearly David Johnson's best game as a Texan, and still with him having the best game as a Texan, you still there's no justification. It just shows and highlights even more how bad the trade was. But like I say, defensively, like defensively, I know a lot of it has to do with personnel. Period. Like not even just the personnel that was on the field today. The personnel that we come into this team, we come into the season with, just wasn't a legitimate personnel. And like I say, the Cincinnati Bengals receivers, they make some nice ass catches. I mean, they make some incredible spectacular catches. Like I think if you go on Madden, I think damn near all their receivers got like over 90 spectacular catches on Madden. I know it's a video game, but still, I bring it up because these guys can catch the football all over the field. Kind of like back to what I was saying earlier, makes you wish that you had this. It makes you wish the trade was different, because if you at least had a first round pick, you've been able to get you one of these receivers. Even though I know T. Higgins, I think T. Higgins went the first pick in the second round, but you could have had a T. Higgins, could have had a C.D. Lamb or a Judy or something like that. You could have a different type of receiver, a guy who, like I say, a go-getter. It's a Clemson thing, because for some reason these Clemson receivers, they go up there and get that thing. And that's all, and all part of the reason why, because that's the type of balls that Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson side offense produces, because that's what the quarterbacks do. They throw those 50-50 balls. Look at Hopkins. I know nobody's better than doing it but Hopkins, T. Higgins, Mike Williams. Like you look at these Clemson style receivers, that's what they do. They jump up and go get that thing. That's something that you kind of need. But you definitely need to fix the secondary, because you're gonna have to deal with quarterbacks. Well, I mean, we talk about the Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City offense and Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense and things like that, and also Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen. But we also got to start talking about what's going to happen when Joe Burrow comes back in the Cincinnati Bengals, and also what's going to happen when Justin Herbert gets a little bit more accolade to the NFL, because that's an offense that has a lot of weapons. It's not just the cream of the crop. It's not just the Lamar Jackson, the Patrick Mahomes, and the Buffalo Bills. It's a lot of teams out here coming for it. It's going to be a lot of young, youthful quarterbacks who to see what happens when Trevor Lawrence, whatever team he gets drafted by, he's more likely going to be in your division, being with Jacksonville. So it's a lot. We're going to see exactly what Miami do, because Miami is winning right now, not with their quarterback, but mostly with their defense. So when we see these other teams getting better, you have to fix it. Yes, you might have the second best quarterback in the league, like Deshaun Watson is second in the NFL in passing yards, and I think he's right. I think he's right below Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a top level quarterback. I think he's a top 5 quarterback, number 2 in my opinion. Even saying that, even with that, we've showed you this year that even having that level quarterback, a guy who's also broke the franchise record for the most Pro Bowls as a quarterback, he has 3. Matt Schaub only had 2. He's also with the 5th fastest to 100 touchdowns in the fifth fewest games with 100 touchdowns. Even saying all that, we're still a 4-11 win team, and you have to fix that going forward, because these teams around the league are getting better. They're getting better. It's just how it is. And a lot of bad decisions. To be honest, the end sequence of that game, let's talk about it, because I definitely want to talk about the end sequence of this game. Because right before the announcer said it right before Deshaun Watson gets strip sacked and fumbles the football. The announcer says, because Deshaun made a good play, and he says, "Yeah, no defense. Talking about good job of protection. No sacks in this game." As soon as it comes out of his mouth, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Charlie Heck pushes the defender into Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's hand gets caught in his face mask, and he fumbles the football. Cincinnati gets the ball, and then after that, kind of just some bad fuckery goes wrong right after that sequence on that last Cincinnati drive, because the Texans still had all three of their timeouts, even though it was past a 2-minute warning. One, they call a defensive holding on the defensive lineman on a run play. I've never seen holding on a run play on the defense. I've never seen it. I've never seen them call holding on defense on a run play. I've seen holding all the time on passing plays. I've seen holding obviously all the time on the offense on a running play, but I've never seen defensive holding on a running play. I've seen hands to the face. I've seen illegal touch. I've seen offside. I've seen other face. I've never seen holding on the defense on a run play. Never seen it. And even after that, when the quarterback gets hit, I think they went for it on third down, and the quarterback is getting hit, and the quarterback is getting hit, and he's laying there on the ground. They defend one of the offensive linemen pushes and punches and takes a swing at one of our defenders right there in front of the ref. The ref is right here. He pushes and takes a punch. No flag is being thrown. You know why? Because they're trying to let this time go out. That should have been a flag. They should have been pushed back, and they shouldn't be able. Time should stop for one. Now we're giving the Texans even more time left in the last sequence, but it was just. I don't want to say a cheat, because it's not that. It's just botch stuff by the referees. Just a botch job, and I know. The lower the tier of the games, just like with the commentaries for as the people who call the game, the lower the tier of the games, the lower the tier of the referees. Just like the higher tier of the games, if it's a primetime game, if it's a big time matchup, those teams are going to get the good. They're going to get the good people who call the game, and they're also going to get the good referee crew. So you probably got one of the worst referee crews, if not the worst referee crew, because you had a 4-win team and a 3-win team playing against each other. So you had a bad ref crew, and it was proven, and you've seen it today, that the ref crew today just wasn't. It was not just so questionable calls, but stuff that you kind of like, huh. Okay, I guess that's part of the rule book. I guess I so stuff like that. So then, even after that, when the Texans get the ball back, the last play of the game, Deshaun Watson throws the ball to Hanson. Hanson catches it. It's 5 seconds left. Hanson could have stepped out of bounds and would have gave Deshaun Watson they did the whole little lateral play. They kind of got some yards on it. And I think that's the reason why Deshaun ended up throwing for over 300 yards, because of that lateral play. Because I think that lateral movement, because it wasn't originally a pass play. I think that lateral movement counts as his yards, if I'm not mistaken. But Henson caught the football. Charles Henson could have stepped out of bounds. They had at the very least 4 seconds. Could have still had 5. But at the very least had 4 seconds, and he also had enough room, slightly, to turn up and maybe gain another 5 yards, and still would have had left a second left on the play clock. Understood why he probably wouldn't have did that, because that's a little bit too sketchy. But at the very least, he could have called it and stepped out of bounds and still had 4 seconds left, and could have gave Deshaun Watson a Hail Mary try. 2 things about that. Now, I know we don't have, like I've been saying, a go-getter to probably catch that Hail Mary pass. We don't have a Hopkins. We don't have a Jalen Strong who caught a couple Hail Marys for the Texans. We don't have receivers like that. But, I mean, you still have Steven Mitchell, I think is a taller guy. You got Hanson himself. Cause I know both Kiki and Cooks are shorter guys. You still got your tight ends that possibly maybe you got a better chance of getting a Hail Mary thrown, because all you need is a touchdown to win the game. I know some people are like, well, because of maybe Deshaun Watson getting his arm tugged, that maybe he didn't have enough arm. Well, if that's the case, if he didn't have enough arm to make that throw, you throw out AJ McCarron. It's only one throw. You go out there and throw out AJ McCarron. If that's the case, you throw out AJ McCarron. Now, I'm glad to see that Deshaun Watson was able to come back in the game after that, because he was kind of scary, because he was sitting there laying on the ground. You know, if he might have pulled a pectoral or his shoulder or anything like that because his arm being extended the way it is. But that just brings back to what I'm saying earlier, as far as that just brings me back to what I was saying, that maybe you gotta sit him. Maybe it's to the point that, you, like, especially with that type of offensive line, you want to sit him. Trust and believe. I want Deshaun to go out there and play as much as anybody. I want Deshaun to go out there and break the franchise record. But it's very fascinating to see that, again, guy who breaks the franchise record as far as getting the most Pro Bowls by a quarterback in 3, breaking the franchise record for the most touchdowns in the season, 30, the first time we've ever had a 30 touchdown season by a quarterback, and potentially able to break the franchise record in yards, which is not a small feat at all, because 4,770 yards at the time when Matt Schaub did it was 7th all time in history. Now, I know as lately we've seen a lot of quarterbacks come out there over 5,000 yards, and that kind of pushed Matt Schaub down some. I don't even think it's top 10 anymore. But even saying all that, because those are a lot of yards. That's a significant amount of yards, and that does that's a lot amount of yards. To do all that on a 4-11 team, potentially 4-12 team that earns you the right to have the 3rd pick in the draft, which you can't use because Bill O'Brien traded away, is absurd. It's crazy to me. It's crazy that you have a quarterback playing that well. And again, like I keep on stating week after week, these are not garbage time stats. These are not, oh, you down 21-0 or 21-0 at halftime, and you go out there and you make it look good. You put some window dressing on it, and you make it look good in the 4th quarter to make it look like you was doing something. No, it wasn't like that. These are stats that have been put up throughout the play of the game, in good points of the game, parts that you took the lead, because when Deshaun Watson threw his touchdown, they took the lead in this game. You've had leads blown. You've gotten all the way to the goal line and fumbled on the goal line, and that's the reason why you lose said game. Like, this team should have won both games against the Colts. Team should have won the game against the Titans. That right there gives you 3 wins, makes you have 7. Potentially this game is different. Potentially you play games differently because your record is different. You should have won the game against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not that. Pittsburgh is not an 11-win team. It's not what they are, 11-win team, but they're not your traditional 11-0 team like they show them. Like Pittsburgh is not that type of team. They're not a Super Bowl contender. They're probably gonna lose in the first round or they're probably gonna lose in the first round of the playoffs. And for you to have all those things and your quarterback to be played as well as he played, and he's subject to only having 4 wins and earning a spot as drafting 3rd in the draft, which you can't even benefit from. Let me reiterate, you cannot benefit from that. You're gonna have the 3rd pick in the draft, and you won't be able to use it. I think this might be the first time in NFL history, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know the difference, that a team has the 3rd pick in the draft that was traded away before they knew that. Normally, if a team has a 3rd pick in the draft and they trade it, it's because they moving back to acquire picks in the middle of the trade. They already knew that they had a 3rd pick in the draft and they traded it because they were letting the team move up. This time, you traded the 3rd pick in the draft before you even knew you had the 3rd pick in the draft. I don't think a pick has ever been that high in the draft that was traded before a team even knew that pick was going to be the pick. So it's... Man, we gotta do better going forward. We gotta get this general manager job right. We gotta get this head coaching job right. I got a video that I just did with special guests. I'm gonna drop it later on this week, and y'all trust me, y'all are going to want the Texans to hire this person. When the video drop, y'all are going to want the Texans to hire this person. So y'all stay tuned. It's going to drop probably later on this week. So like, share, subscribe, comment below if you haven't. Click that bell, get more videos. I holla.